expectation of that. But in the meantime, I invite Osajefo Ampem Anye Amompom Tabrako III, who is the paramount chief of Winchi traditional area. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the exhibition of African royalty. Put your hands together for His Royal Majesty.
Good afternoon to you all. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Honorable Julius Deborah, Chief of Staff, Honorable Jinapo, Minister of Energy and Green Transitions, distinguished guests, heads of institutions, industry leaders, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and our media present. I bring you greetings from the people of Winchi traditional area and from the great traditions of our ancestors, whose wisdom continues to guide us in moments of transformation such as this. I stand before you not just as a custodian of the rich traditions and heritage of the Winchi traditional area, but also a strong advocate of sustainable development. Development that does not just address the needs of the current generation, but also make provisions for generations to come. It is therefore an honor to speak on the theme, Powering Human Capital, the role of traditional leadership in Africa's energy transition. This conversation could not be more timely. Countries and regions around the world are making strategic shifts and adjustments to their primary and secondary energy sources. Africa cannot be left out of this transition. The decisions we make today will determine whether we participate in this transition or remain left behind, as the current narrative suggests. Let us be honest. Africa is not poor in resources, whether renewable or non-renewable. Where we lack is how we manage these resources for the benefit of our own people. Reports suggest that nearly half of the population in Africa still lack reliable access to electric power. How do we then transition from something we do not have? Maybe the focus should not just be on transition based on decarbonization, but also how we energize parts of the whole. While our beloved country, Ghana, has an impressive power penetration rate of around 87%, according to the Energy Commission's 2025 National Energy Statistical Bulletin, there is still more that can be done to reach full electrification of the entire country. Electricity is easy for all of us to appreciate because of its level of usage, but significant strides must also be made in the oil and gas sector to reduce our overall reliance on importation of fuels. If you want a practical example of what energy transition looks like, you can remember from the early days when our grandparents used biomass like wood and charcoal to cook our favorite meals. Now our wives and daughters use gas. In modern times, the reliance on biomass has reduced significantly and the uptake of more efficient and cleaner energy sources like natural gas and electric cooking has increased. As traditional leaders, we need to be sensitive to these transitions and recognize the part we must play to enhance its sustainability. We have a part to play in advancing energy security and energy access by being active partners with the government in deploying energy policies. We have seen examples of the disconnect when developments in the energy sector happens without the active participation of traditional leadership. We know the story of Shell in Nigeria versus the people of the Niger Delta. We hear of the exploitations in Congo. When the people of the land are not involved in the implementation of energy policies, there will always be friction. Traditional leadership have a major role to play. We are the custodians of the two most critical inputs for energy transition, that's land and trust. No solar farm can be built, no transition line can be laid, and no wind turbine can spin without our lands. If the global energy transition tries to bypass traditional leadership, it will stumble over local resistance, bureaucratic delays, and social unrest. We often forget that where we call the Akosombo Dam used to be the lands that had settlers. Without the brave intervention of traditional leadership, that man-made lake will never exist to generate the electricity we enjoy today. But land is not our greatest asset. Our greatest asset is the youth of Africa, the youngest, most dynamic demographic on the planet. The United Nations projects that by 2050, 1 in 4 people on Earth will be African. Even more interesting is that 1 in 3 young people entering the global workforce will be from our continent. How do we power this human capital? First, traditional leadership must evolve from being merely cultural custodians. We must become influencers. We must bridge the gap between traditional governance, academia, and industry. Also, we must redefine how businesses are conducted on our lands. We must be co-owners and partners, not just consumers. We must insist on recognized and documented traditional and public-private agreements that benefit both the current and future generations. We must demand that foreign and local energy investors do not just set up businesses to exploit our resources and export the profits, but establish local assembly plants, technical training centers, and research hubs within our communities. We must leverage on royalties and partnerships to fund technology transfer through STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and technical vocational education and training. We must ensure that there is infrastructure to train the next generation of engineers and new energy experts right in our palaces and communities. Lastly, the traditional rulers of Ghana govern the social infrastructure that no government agency can replicate. We are the ones the community believes when we tell them, this solar farm will not take your land. It will power your children's school. Personally, I have taken steps by engaging private sector partners on renewable energy development within the Wenchi traditional area. I currently serve as a board member for the Tyne Basin Development Project, a hybrid renewable energy initiative comprising of 10 megawatts solar, 10 megawatts hydro, and 55 megawatts solar. Also, we have a 6 megawatt battery storage system. Like I have mentioned, I believe that we should not only provide land, but also participate directly in ensuring that some projects serve the long-term interests of the people. Through my foundation, I'm also seeking partnerships to support youth training and a Train the Trainer program in the renewable energy sector so that our young people can acquire the skills needed to participate in Ghana's energy transition. Partnership and energy transition, from borders to bridges, is a call to action. We must address what creates barriers between us as Africans. No amount of connected infrastructure, be it roads or grid sharing, can unite us if the mindsets are not changed. The human capital, the architects and engineers of these bridges must recognize that we are one people, we have a common goal, and we are united. If you have ever heard of the concept, race to the bottom. African countries see themselves as competitors. Countries tend to lower their standards and regulations just to attract investors. Every country wants to offer the sweetest deal so that investors come and do business in their countries. Yes, we need those investments. But when we keep lowering the standards, we tend to allow things that do not favor the citizens nor promote innovation. We must work together and set the standard for how trade is conducted on this continent. We must explore our own markets through the ACTA. Why should an energy company in Nigeria or Kenya have different sets of trade rules when trading within African countries compared to a Western company? Africa must be mentally united. Finally, I want to say, let us seek a win-win situation in our energy transition journey, and let us build an Africa where energy does not merely power machines, but powers human capital, national prosperity, and sustainable development. Thank you all. Peter Mosen.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Majesty. Ladies and gentlemen, just before